Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
How would you like to go green and save some serious green when it comes to your electric bill? Ali Samana is here. He is the CEO and founder of One Solar Solution. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well, we see the solar panels on roofs, and we say it, with the cheap oil, is that something that is just not going to thrive in this kind of economy?
You know, that's what I've heard from so many people, that, look, energy prices are down. Natural gas is at its lowest it's been in years, $1.89 for MBTU. So solar is just not going to happen. That's what I hear. Yet in 2015, we've installed more solar panels than previous 5 years.
Really?
Yes. In the next 5 years, we're going to double our generation capacity from solar panels.
Why is that? What's driving that?
A lot of things. So first, there's a lot of government credits. There's a lot of incentives that the government is offering to make solar more affordable. So, they've been around for a while, but until the right incentives are in place, a common person that wants to go green looks at it and goes, yeah, but I have to make a very big investment. So now what happens is, with all of these different incentives, and I'll get into details here in a second, it's become more affordable. So first, let's talk about the green side, the climate side.
Sure.
For a typical home, if somebody installs solar panels, just a normal 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, it's like planting 270 trees per year for the life of the system.
Really?
So it's a pretty big impact on the environment. And there are people, a number of people, maybe a dozen, maybe 100, that are willing to get solar panels just for that reason, because they don't want to be dependent on foreign oil or fossil fuels or foreign energy. Now, having said that, that's a handful of people that are wanting to do it for that reason. If I can go to a person and say, look, I want you to go green, but what I'm going to do is make it affordable, then it really becomes something that people just want to adapt to. There are a lot of different programs out there. One of the programs that actually we have partnered with a lot of different banks, including GE Capital, Synchrony, to finance solar panels with zero down.
Wow.
So almost all of our residential customers, we go to them and we go, look, we're going to put up panels. It's going to generate X amount of kilowatt hours per month. You're going to pay a payment generally around $100 a month,
wow,
which is lower than what they're paying for electricity.
Of course.
Right? Now, they're not off-grid. So the first question that I get is, well, am I going to be completely off-grid? We don't want to do that. Encore actually provides a rebate. So you want that rebate. They provide that rebate for you to stay on-grid. And then there's the cost of the battery, right? And you don't want to have a week where it's really cloudy and you didn't generate anything, and now you're limited by the battery capacity. So we keep people on grid, which means if they overproduce, companies will buy back from them and they get a little check. And if they underproduce, it's really that simple. They just pull from the grid. To the consumer, it's seamless.
Wow.
They have no idea when power is generated from solar versus when they're buying from their electric provider.
Let's talk about HOAs, because I live in one, and I'm pretty sure that I couldn't put up a solar panel in my neighborhood. But how does that work?
So actually, the HOAs are great, right? They help us improve our home values, but they have a lot of rules and restrictions. So they actually were a roadblock for solar for some reason or another. I think solar panels are beautiful. They didn't. Now, there's a law passed that says HOAs cannot say no to installing solar. Right? No matter what, they can't say no. So at one point they were restricting, right? If they couldn't say no, they said, okay, well, you can't put them in the front of the house. Well, what if with your home, the best place to put them is in the front of your home? What if that's where you're going to get the best production?
Right.
Then if you put them in the back or on the side, then you're losing out. You as a homeowner are missing out. Some people don't want them in the front of the house. But then I have clients that say, if this is where it's going to produce the most, then this is where I want them. So now there is a law that says HOAs cannot decline solar panels. Now, they can guide us. They can tell us do this or do that, but they cannot flat out say no. As a matter of fact, as a company, we fill out all of the paperwork for our customers. So we're familiar with the guidelines that HOAs want. So really the customer just has to sign and send it in.
Have we reached the tipping point? Do you see a day where solar panels are on every home in America? I mean, is that something that is in our lifetime?
You know, any product that reaches a market penetration of about 3%, at that point it becomes a hockey stick. And we're not quite at 3%, but solar panels and the industry is growing extremely fast. So there are people, there are people that are converting to solar in minutes. So there's across the United States, there's somebody that's signing up for solar every couple of minutes, right? So even though we're not at 3% market penetration, but when you see it at 3%, then you're going to know people, you're going to know friends and family that are going to have solar panels. So at that point, right now, it's the cool thing to do. You're doing it because nobody else has it and I'm going to be unique. Pretty soon it's going to be, this is the commonplace.
This was a big week in Congress for you, wasn't it?
Absolutely. This was a big week for anybody that had any vested interest in solar industry or renewable industry, but solar in specific.
What happened?
So there was a tax credit. It's a 30% tax credit. What it says is if you invest $10,000 in renewables, you can take $3,000 of it off on your taxes. Wow. Pretty simple. Now, this is why solar, especially in residential, has taken off, like we talked about earlier. This was set to expire in 2016. So when we were, even as a smaller company, when we were looking at what we were going to do next year, we were on pins and needles, right? We didn't know whether our business was going to continue growing or whether it was going to take a step back. So this year, actually just in the last few days, Congress came to a deal where in the funding bill, one side of Congress has put in some tax credits for the oil companies, and the other side has extended these tax credits for renewables. So huge deal for anybody that's in the solar business, and huge deal to the consumers. At the end of the day, it's the consumers that win. And government benefits because, again, we're taking away our dependency from foreign countries to burn fossil fuels.
Well, let's talk about that because, there's been a lot of talk about the cheap price of oil, and now the U.S. is going to be exporting oil. Is solar a big part of America becoming completely independent?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the exporting, it was in the news just a few days ago. At the prices that oil is at right now, the exports are going to be minimal because it's just not profitable for American companies.
Right.
But eventually, exporting is going to start happening. Commodities, just like everything else, goes up and goes down. Right now, they're extremely low. Once they start coming up, that's when exports are going to happen, and that's when you're really going to see another interest in renewables come up. Right? When people start paying double for their electric bills or when they start paying double for gas, that's when they're going to say maybe that solar deal or maybe that renewable is not a bad idea for me to invest in.
And the millennials, I know, are kind of a green generation.
They are.
And Tesla has really kind of changed the electric car market. Are you seeing consumers that are saying, I really want to reduce my carbon footprint. I can't change the world, but I can at least change my home?
Absolutely. And there are a lot of people that are doing that. There are a lot of different co-ops that exist within the DFW community. Some of those co-ops really don't have a commitment to renewable, right? So when these consumers do their research, when they find out the carbon footprint that just electricity generation has, they want to make a difference. I have customers, they'll call me and they'll say, look, I've been looking at panels, but they weren't affordable 3 years, 5 years ago. Maybe the incentives weren't there. But what is it now? Just last week I talked to somebody and they looked at the price. And of course, prices are dropping, right? Just like with any innovation, any technology. They look at the price and they go, this is really affordable. Like this is now $100 a month, $150 a month. I can do this because I'm paying it anyway. Right. And that's regardless of which company, that's regardless of which product. They've just become a lot more affordable.
Wow. I know your daughter is in the studio. She's over there playing. And do you feel like what Daddy does for a living is helping make the world a better place for your daughter?
I hope so. At the end of the day, we can't continue doing what we're doing. From the talks in Paris, if we don't make a big change, if we don't change our lifestyle, is really what it comes down to, then this may be a different world for our kids and our future generations. Having said that, one of the easiest things that anybody can do is try to reduce their dependency. And it's not just solar. It's buy a car that's more fuel efficient, right? It's maybe cut down using electricity, getting a smart thermostat like Nest, right? If maybe you're renting, solar is not a good option or other renewables are not a good option. Get a Nest thermostat, right? Cut down where you can cut down. So that, we live in a world of abundance in the United States. So, at the end of the day, when we turn on the tap, water comes out. When we get home, we can turn on electricity. There are parts of the world that have rolling blackouts, electricity, and they have rolling droughts where there's no water coming out of the tap. So we live in a world of abundance. If we just cut back a little bit when we're not necessarily using it, I think we can make a huge impact.
How do people get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to our website, onesolarsolution.com. And, of course, they can call us, 855-60-1-SOLAR.
Ali Samana with One Solar Solution. Thank you so much for joining us on the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you for the opportunity.